Good morning and welcome to West Coast Grandma. Elizabeth here again, and I just thought I'd show you a quick way to preserve a couple of the things that are already in the garden, namely oregano and cilantro. Both things that we love and eat all through the winter. Cilantro is not something you really can preserve fresh. If I had a freeze dryer, that could possibly be the case, but I have another way to preserve it and keep it in my freezer. And as for the oregano, I'm going to show you a super simple way to dehydrate it and store it in a jar, and you've got it for the winter. I do replace them every year, even if I haven't used it all up, which I usually do, especially when I'm making spaghetti sauce and all those kind of things and pizza. But I typically will just dump out if there's a little bit left and always put fresh, because dehydrated food doesn't tend to last quite as long. The flavor kind of disappears. So here in front of me, you can see my patch of cilantro. And this I grew from seed. It's great, but it does bolt easily. So it's good to get it picked when it is ready. There's no signs at all of bolting. So it's going to taste the most tender and the most fresh. Oh, the birds are bugging Riker again. So I am going to just take my kitchen scissors here, and I'm just going to cut it right at the base, like so. And I'm just going to take it in my basket, and then we are going to go back to the kitchen, and we are going to preserve this so that we can use it when it tastes its best for the whole winter. So let me grab these. Probably going to use some for supper tonight too, because it's a shame to not use it when it's fresh and tender. There we go. There, so that's quite a bit of cilantro. I'll leave a little bit here. Okay, so the other thing we're going to get is some of this oregano. I'm trying to keep it a little bit controlled. It really spreads fast, but again, it's not flowering yet, and it's so nice and tender. Like those leaves are huge. So this is good, healthy oregano. So I am going to cut a few of these off. So, and we'll take that in our basket. And I am going to show you a quick way to get those preserved for the winter. So I will catch you back in my kitchen in a few. Well, welcome back to my kitchen. I've been out working in the garden all day. I did bring the cilantro and the oregano in, and I left them both soaking in my sink. And I did that with a little handful of salt. It just takes any bugs off if there was. Like I say, the herbs that are in my garden, I'm not too worried about. There really isn't animals in there, but there's all those little bugs, I'm sure. And if you put a bit of salt, it just makes them float to the surface. So if you're worried about that, just pop them in water to wash them off, and just soak them for an hour or so. So anyways, I'm going to get the oregano out and let it be drying here. So let's just let that out. Because if I'm going to dehydrate it, I kind of want it to be a little bit drier anyways, because that is pretty soaking wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that sit there for a minute and let some of the moisture kind of come off that, and we are just going to deal with the cilantro. This is a really easy thing. So again, the cilantro was in my other sink, but I don't need to worry about the water, because when I put it in my food processor, I'm going to be adding a little bit of water anyway. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to keep some for dinner. I'm forgetting. There we are. Yeah, I'm making pad thai, so that would be delicious on there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to strip the big leaves off, and I'm going to put them into my food processor. It's slightly time consuming, but all good things take time, right? So I'm going to pop all this into my food processor, and I will come back when I'm all done. And there we have it, a whole blender full of leaves. And don't worry if you get some of the stems. There's bits of stems, little stems in there. It doesn't matter, because if you were going to put them in say a salad roll or something like that, I always leave bits of the stem on anyways. And it's all full of flavor. So we'll just put our lid on here and just give it a quick mix up. It's really very simple. I'm just going to add a little bit of water. I just want it to turn into just a mush. All right. Okay, let me check that. Oh, there's a couple of pieces that didn't get mixed up. Oh, that's pretty good. So, all I am going to do is get a measuring spoon, and I am going to take spoonfuls of the cilantro, and these are little silicone, they're ice cube trays, but actually they work perfect to do this. So I'm just gonna scoop a little bit of the cilantro into my cube, like so. Get it so you can see it here. I actually think I'm going to put a tad more water in this because we want it to freeze like an ice cube. So there we go. I think this will be a little bit better. We'll just make it a little easier to scoop out. All right. And I'll scrape all that out after, but I just want to show you just how easy this is. Oh yeah, that's better. So all I'm going to do again, like I said, is fill up these little cubes, and I figure that these cubes are about a tablespoon. And they work great to take out of the freezer later and just throw in your soup or whatever you're making. If for my pad thai that I'm making for dinner tonight, if I didn't have any fresh, this would totally be an alternative. So that's really all I'm going to do. I'm just going to push them into there. You can see though that it it really goes down when you put it in the food processor. So you're not going to get as many. But the nice thing about cilantro is if I keep on picking it the way I did today, it'll still keep coming for a bit before it'll eventually just go to seed. And then I'll be leaving it to get the coriander seeds. So there we go. So I'm just going to continue to fill this little tray up here. And then I'm going to put the lid on it, and I will be putting that into the freezer. When it's all done, I'm just going to pop the cubes out and put them into a little freezer bag. I'll just write on the freezer bag what it is and the date. And anytime I need some fresh tasting cilantro, all I have to do is go pop a cube or two to put into my meal. So that's it for cilantro. Very, very easy. And you can do this 2 or 3 or 4 times before the cilantro is done and get yourself, well, I've got 3 of these. I'd like to be able to fill 3 of these, I would think, for the winter. So we will come back in a minute and we are going to check out the oregano. I'm just going to finish this up and go pop it into the freezer, and then we'll get our oregano on the go. Okay, so there we have it. There's our little container that's all ready to go in the freezer. That'll still last a while. I mean, it's not like you eat cilantro every day or two, but it would be nice to get at least 2 of these full and have them in the freezer. So there we go. And when those are frozen, I'll pop them into a bag. So the oregano. So this one is pretty easy too. Now there is 2 ways we can do this. We can either put it in our dehydrator, which I will be doing a lot of dehydrating coming up because I do make my own tea for the winter, and I make all different herbs, have them all in jars, and we'll do a whole video on that one day. But for now, we're just gonna do the oregano a very quick way that I would say pretty well anybody can do. So again though, I'm going to take the leaves off. And with oregano, the nice thing is that's pretty easy because you just can go down like that, and then I just pop the end off. And of course, all the stems will go into my compost. But there we are. That's all there is to taking the leaves off. They just pop right off when you run your fingers down the stem. So I will get all these leaves off, and then I will show you just how easy it is to make a batch or two of dried oregano that you can use all winter. So there we have it. We have a whole pile of washed oregano leaves. So I'm just gonna try to dry them a little bit here with all my favorite bear tea towels. You can see I love bears. When I was painting Christmas windows at Nicholas North Golf Club at Whistler this past Christmas, I was working away in the empty restaurant and right at the big window, and all of a sudden a bear came walking right along the window, sauntering along, and of course I just had an absolute fit. And I did get pictures which I posted on Facebook, so friends of mine have seen it, but I called him Fred, and I have bear everything now because that was an experience that I'm sure I'll never again get to live, because that was pretty neat. Oh, I missed a couple here. Yeah, I want to just get some of the moisture off these, so I'll just dry them a little bit here. There we go. Alrighty, so this is going to be done in a couple of batches, and believe it or not, I have all these paper towels and I just save them because I reuse them when I do all my dehydrating in my microwave. So that's what is going to be the easy thing about today. So you're just going to take a handful like so, spread it on the paper towel, and I use a few. I fold them over a couple of times like so. So I've got a nice thick little wad, and I'm going to pop that in the microwave, and I'm going to start with 1.5 minutes. All right. And while that one is going, I'm going to get the next one here ready. It's a little in and out of the microwave and mixing them up and moving them around, but it's a super fast way. It's a lot quicker than the dehydrator, and I don't particularly like using my oven to dehydrate food, but I mean that's always an option too. But I will get that out and show you in another 1.5 minutes when that's done. Okay, when you do take this out of the microwave, it'll be very hot and the microwave will be steamy, but that's what you want because you see how it's starting to dry these leaves. You see there? Now they're still not quite ready, and this is why I say that I just mix them around a little bit and fold the paper towels over them again. So now I have a dry one, more or less touching them. I turn the whole thing over, and I'm going to pop that back in again for another, probably another 1.5 minutes again. So there we go. And meanwhile, I've got another one. Okay, there you have it. There's another 1.5 minutes. And as you can see, they're just about dry. I think I'm probably going to just pop this back in with another dry paper towel on the top for maybe just another 30 seconds. So then that will be a total of 3.5 minutes for, one good handful. So I am going to keep going through this, and I'll show you what I do when it's totally dry. So there we have it. See how nice and dry? You can hear that now. It's crunchy. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little bowl, and I'm just going to do each little batch. This is why you see I reuse the paper towels, but I'm going to do this little batch. I'm going to add these other ones all to it because it does take a couple of minutes, and the reason that I only go 1.5 minutes at a time is because in the microwave, you know that microwaves are attracted to the moisture, and if it suddenly dries out and you think, oh, I'll just put it on for 5 minutes, you don't want to have a fire starting in your microwave. So I tend to go on the safe side and go 1.5 minute increments, and then just judge the last one for 30 seconds or so to get it good and dry. So when I get it all done into my bowl, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. So here we have our last batch out of the microwave, and I'll just take these off again and pour my nice dried leaves into a bowl. And there you see I have my whole stack of paper towels that I'm just gonna use again because I do a lot of small batch herbs this way, just to store for cooking every day. So here's my dish. All I'm gonna do is break it all up now. It's just so easy. And there we go. You have dried oregano. And if a couple of stems come out, well, just pick them out. I mean, when you're making things out of your own garden, there's always little things, and that's okay because this is real food with nothing added, no preservatives, organically grown. So if you get a stem or two, it doesn't matter. So there we have it. And I'm gonna take one of my jars, just a regular canning jar, and this is my funnel that I use when I'm canning. And I'm just gonna pour my dried oregano leaves into there, like so. And there we have it. And again, I did mention on another video, I save all these little packets, these oxygen absorbers that are in any kind of food products I get. Again, because then I know that they're food safe. And I'm just gonna drop those in. Living on the coast, yeah, it is a little more humid. And that way I'm pretty well guaranteed that this is gonna last throughout the whole winter. So reusing my lids, because this doesn't have to seal, I'm just gonna store it in my cupboard. So these are lids that I've already used, taken off, and washed, and I'm just gonna put oregano 2023. And again, if I go to make next year's and I still have a bit, I'll probably just dump that out and add some more because I do have a lot. So we're just gonna put that on there. And there we have a jar of oregano and will be our frozen cilantro ice cubes that we're gonna be using all winter. So hope you've enjoyed this video. It was short and sweet, but just a little touch on beginning ways to preserve some of the goodies that are in the garden that are just starting to become ready. So catch me again, subscribe and hit the like button if you've enjoyed this, and we're gonna catch you again. West Coast Grandma signing out.